By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why the world's most powerful chip company just walked away from the biggest AI deal ever made, and what that tells us about the collapse of the entire AI industry. You'll see the financial dominoes that are about to fall, and you'll be ahead of 99% of people who still think this is all fine. Now, let's look at the problem. NVIDIA just yanked a $100 billion lifeline from OpenAI, signaling the AI bubble is bursting right now. While most investors are still blindly pouring money into overhyped stocks, watching their wealth evaporate as startups collapse and giants like OpenAI face bankruptcy by 2027. The solution here? Well, here's what most people are missing. This isn't the beginning of a crash. It's the middle of one. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through the exact timeline of how this bubble collapses, why the biggest tech companies are about to take a haircut, and the domino effect that's already started. Plus, I'll reveal the one financial metric that proves OpenAI's business model is fundamentally broken. Envision this scenario. Jensen Huang, CEO of NVIDIA, approaches Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, carrying two enormous sacks brimming with financial resources. He traverses the room, laboring beneath the weight of these colossal repositories of capital, and extends them towards Altman. Sam's expression brightens as he reaches forward, exclaiming, "My $100 billion, thank you." But in the decisive moment, before his grasp closes upon the bags, Jensen withdraws them and departs. This theatrical imagery represents more than speculative narrative. It encapsulates the precise circumstances that have unfolded across the technological landscape and the ramifications that are consequential from this. Rewind to September 2025. OpenAI and NVIDIA jointly announced what industry observers characterize as the most transformative technology alliance in contemporary history, a monumental $100 billion contractual arrangement. Under this agreement's provisions, OpenAI would receive $100 billion in advance computational hardware, processing infrastructure, graphics processing units, and video accelerator cards. The technological apparatus requisite for operating large language models at unprecedented computational scale. This transaction was strategically engineered to furnish OpenAI with the computational advantage necessary to definitively surpass every competitor within the large language model domain. This includes Anthropic, Google Gemini, and any other aspirational challengers. The narrative construction proved compelling. This hardware advantage would perpetuate OpenAI's technological supremacy indefinitely. Yet, critical context remains largely unexamined by casual observers. As documented extensively in preceding analysis, graphics processing units and computational infrastructure constitute the foundational lifeblood sustaining the entire large language model sector. These enterprises cannot perpetuate operations without this hardware. The financial mathematics deteriorates, the accounting mechanisms fail. These organizations hemorrhage capital strategically and relentlessly. NVIDIA and competing semiconductor manufacturers have engineered an elegant mechanism perpetuating this economically dysfunctional market. They provision essential hardware, fabricating appearances of organizational viability and technical advancement. This carefully orchestrated ecosystem projects superficial functionality whilst concealing fundamental economic unsustainability. Today, January 30th, represents a watershed moment. Approximately 4 to 5 hours prior to this analysis, the Wall Street Journal published information that fundamentally altered this agreement's trajectory. However, the precision of their linguistic formulation warrants meticulous examination as it reveals the sophisticated messaging orchestrated behind institutional scenes. The journal did not report termination or cancellation. Rather, they categorized the arrangement as on ice. This phraseology, superficially innocuous to general audiences, communicates profound significance within investor communities. The translation, refrain expeditiously from panic liquidation of NVIDIA equity. Technically, circumstances remain positive, yet the transaction has been indefinitely suspended. If direct language stated the deal is terminated, immediate market catastrophe would ensue. Capital would flee precipitously. Multiple economic sectors would experience destabilization. Through the circumlocation on ice, institutional leadership has strategically acquired temporal latitude. This timing, Friday market close, proves deliberately calculated. The weekend permits investors, analysts, and institutional participants to metabolize information, contemplate implications, and adjust expectations before Monday's market mechanisms resume. Without this temporal buffer, cascading liquidation would commence immediately. That reckoning approaches inevitably, merely deferred. What motivated Jensen Huang's strategic withdrawal from this arrangement, though? Emerging information provides illuminating perspective into sophisticated corporate negotiation mechanics. NVIDIA's legal counsel, executing fiduciary obligations impeccably for a $100 billion transaction, embedded strategic ambiguities and protective provisions throughout the contractual framework. These represent weasel words in legal terminology, meticulously crafted language provision offering escape mechanisms and technical justifications for withdrawal should circumstances deteriorate. Leveraging these contractual provisions, Jensen has initiated a public relations campaign advancing two assertions. The agreement remained incompletely finalized, and the contract itself constituted non-binding documentation despite the announcement's grandeur. More incisively damaging, Jensen publicly criticized OpenAI for demonstrating a lack of discipline in their business approach. This assessment demands emphasis. It carries extraordinary significance within industry context. Individuals maintaining engagement with artificial intelligence developments recognize the validity of Jensen's criticism. When ChatGPT 5 achieved initial deployment, it represented genuine technological innovation. This competitive advantage has subsequently evaporated entirely. Current offerings have declined precipitously relative to the alternatives. The comparative landscape illuminates this reality. Google's Gemini 3 Pro demonstrates superior performance across metrics. Anthropic's Claude Opus 4.5 outperforms ChatGPT substantially across numerous evaluation frameworks. OpenAI's current iterations appear to constitute cosmetic enhancements, fundamentally repackaging antecedent models with marginally enhanced reasoning capacity to manufacture innovation illusions. The inescapable conclusion: ChatGPT no longer competes within equivalent competitor tiers as its adversaries do. OpenAI's position has deteriorated to fundamental technological obsolescence. This moment carries monumental symbolic resonance. Contemplate its significance. Jensen Huang, the executive whose enterprise profits from the artificial intelligence ecosystem regardless of individual company outcomes, the entity positioned to prosper universally, has publicly declared organizational loss of confidence in OpenAI's business viability. When the House consistently maintains winning positions, markets function predictably. When the House becomes nervous and initiates strategic withdrawal from a $100 billion agreement with the globe's most prominent AI corporation, every participant recognizes fundamental structural dysfunction. Examination of documented financial projections reveals narratives more compelling than speculation. Internal documents leaked to the information reveal OpenAI's explicit financial forecast for the forthcoming period. OpenAI projects $14 billion in losses in 2026, representing triple the losses relative to 2025's estimate of $5 billion shortfall. Extrapolating this trajectory across the 2023 to 2028 temporal window yields cumulative deficits approximating $44 billion. These projections characterize the world's most prominent AI enterprise, This assertion merits crystalline emphasis. OpenAI operates as a business enterprise. It ranks among the world's most prominent corporations. It has dominated media discourse consistently across 2 consecutive years. Simultaneously, it has never, not once, achieved profitability. The organization compensates artificial intelligence engineers with total compensation packages exceeding $1 million annually, yet it generates no profitability whatsoever. Current revenue totals approximately $13 billion. Achieving profitability by 2028 requires 8-fold revenue expansion within 4 years. Presently, the organization operates at a substantial loss. Profitability remains unattained. Certain analysts project organizational insolvency by 2027, absent another transformative funding infusion, essentially requiring external capital injection that the organization will subsequently expend without generating returns. OpenAI's predicament constitutes merely symptomatic expression of systemic dysfunction pervading the entire sector. Recent MIT research concluded that 95% of enterprise AI projects generate precisely 0 return on investment. Not diminished returns, not modest returns, 0. Concurrently, the technology industry allocates over $500 billion annually towards AI infrastructure. Goldman Sachs has corroborated this assessment, specifically projecting $527 billion for hyperscale entities alone in 2026, representing escalation from $350 billion in 2025. Contextualizing this magnitude, $527 billion exceeds Singapore's entire gross domestic product, their GDP, hardly an economically insignificant nation. This represents staggering capital concentration directed towards infrastructure, generating 0 substantive return. This scenario echoes historical patterns with unsettling precision. During the dot-com era, corporations including Global Crossing and WorldCom invested approximately $500 billion in fiber optic infrastructure. Their foundational assumption, demand would materialize, justifying this expenditure. That demand never materialized. Ultimately, infrastructure achieved eventual utilization, precisely as GPU equipment will eventually find productive deployment. However, the companies manufacturing and deploying this infrastructure experienced bankruptcy before those assets achieved operational utility. An identical pattern manifests presently. Astronomical infrastructure capital expenditure predicted on speculative demand expectations, 0 substantive return on investment currently realized, and the inevitable bankruptcy of entities sustaining this ecosystem. The single remaining question concerns temporal specificity. When will this collapse accelerate decisively? Initial projections anticipated gradual deterioration. This assessment proved erroneous. The unraveling transpires with substantially greater velocity and severity than first anticipated. AI has experienced previous collapses significantly between 1974 and 1987. Historical patterns demonstrate remarkable consistency across cycles. Initial hype generates enthusiasm, capital proliferates predicted on utopian aspirations, protagonists envision worker replacement and technological transcendence. These outcomes will never materialize. Only ultra-wealthy individuals will benefit from AI advancement. General populations won't. Then reality intrudes decisively. Funding ceases abruptly, research and development activities contract. The industry enters extended AI winters, prolonged periods characterized by minimal innovation and advancement. Will language model utilization discontinue? Certainly not. These systems retain utility for circumscribed applications, code generation, fundamental design work, and other limited functions. These applications remain beneficial and undisputed. Research expansion, however, will decelerate substantially. This iteration of the cycle operates at unprecedented magnitude and severity. We have already transitioned through the circular funding mechanism. NVIDIA invests capital into OpenAI. OpenAI purchases NVIDIA hardware. NVIDIA receives funding effectively through hardware provision. OpenAI subsequently depreciates these assets for tax purposes, and then the taxpayers ultimately absorb fiscal burden through tax relief mechanisms. NVIDIA's revenue calculations appear phenomenal. OpenAI's capital burn appears substantial. Stakeholders experience temporary satisfaction, and until someone conducts genuine investigation into actual customer demand for these systems and practical applications, then the valuation disconnect becomes undeniable and irreversible. Macroeconomic indicators amplify these concerns substantially. The S&P 500 trades at 23 times forward earnings. The 5 largest corporations comprise 30% of the entire index. This concentration represents the highest observed in 50 years. The market demonstrates precarious structural conditions. Our contemporary temporal position. Capital concentration in non-viable artificial intelligence investments has become so severe that non-artificial intelligence startups encounter extraordinary difficulty in raising capital. Capital remains trapped in investments fundamentally not functioning. Consider artificial intelligence companies' revenue mechanisms. Organizations attempt inserting advertisements into ChatGPT. The viability and mechanics of this strategy remain wholly ambiguous. How precisely does one advertise on ChatGPT? What profit mechanisms exist? The answer remains conspicuously absent. The imminent consequences proves inevitable. Artificial intelligence startups will commence failing systematically. This cascade will resemble domino effects. Initially, minor organizations will fail. Subsequently, major enterprises will miss earnings projections too. This acceleration will trigger substantially broader recognition of systemic problems. Organizations demonstrating substantial leverage or complete dependency on AI investments will deteriorate and collapse. OpenAI will potentially struggle closing its subsequent funding round, and remarkably, they presently attempt raising $100 billion and $830 billion valuation, whilst remaining unprofitable and generating no actual earnings. What transpires when this capital fails materializing, or materializing substantially below expectations? The NVIDIA agreement termination represents far more than minor business complications. This development carries extraordinary significance, demanding universal attention and sober analysis. NVIDIA, the entity profiting from this entire ecosystem regardless of individual outcomes, has forfeited confidence in OpenAI's business sustainability. Simultaneously, no alternative AI organization has demonstrated viably profitable business mechanisms. What does this communicate regarding competing organizations? In synthesis, the artificial intelligence bubble is no longer approaching. It has materialized. We're experiencing it presently. The singular remaining uncertainty concerns catastrophe magnitude. This development does not threaten major technology corporations like Meta or Google. Their survival remains secure. The operative question concerns valuation reduction magnitude and workforce reduction extent. This phenomenon will receive persistent documentation as it develops, precisely as analysis has continued since initial warnings, when critical assessment was dismissed as paranoia and accused of promoting conspiracy narratives. The analysis of circular funding mechanisms and unsustainable AI investment infrastructure commenced substantially before mainstream recognition. Documentation will persist because evidence supports these conclusions. If disagreement exists regarding this assessment, share perspective in commentary sections. If structural fractures become recognizable, that insight will inform subsequent analysis and future investigations. Subscribe if you have not already. Share this perspective with individuals requiring this information. The implications prove too significant to ignore. Thank you for your engagement and attention throughout this comprehensive analysis.